Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Kadija and today we're making together Singaporean noodles. We're gonna finish getting our vegetables ready and we're gonna start cooking.
So we're going to start our dish by shredding the garlic, the ginger, and the turmeric. You may also use a knife to finely mince those three items. You do not have to use the shredder, but I find it easier to use. Please make sure that you are going to clean and cut any dark spots of the turmeric. Turmeric is not a necessary ingredient of this dish. It's optional. You may also use powder. I just like to use it for the color and the benefits it can add to the dish. Now we will zest and juice 2 lemons. You can use lime for this recipe. I have seen recipes that used rice wine. I've not been able to use rice wine for the recipes I've made. I've replaced it with lemon. I like the results and I stuck with it. For this dish, I will be using a large covered saute pan. I've used a cooking pot before, and I've also used a large frying pan before. As long as it has a raised edge and you're making a small quantity, that should also be fine. Since shrimp is going to be our main source of protein for this dish, I'm going to go ahead and cook it first. Shrimp can overcook easily and become chewy, so we cook it first before we continue cooking our dish. For this step, I fine diced half of the onion we're using today, and I'm going to use coconut oil. I find that coconut oil complements the shrimp flavor better. I've seen recipes that use sesame oil and peanut oil, but I like the coconut oil better. Before moving to the next step, I just wanted to show you the shrimp I'm using today. It was already cleaned and peeled when I bought it from the store. I just had to wash it when I got home. So when your onions get to a translucent state, go ahead and add your garlic, your ginger, and your turmeric. And if you're adding or using powdered turmeric, add it to your spices, not to this step. We're going to save the lemon zest for the end of this step so that we can add it to the shrimp directly. I'm going to go ahead and saute these together and have them cook together for about a minute. And then I'll go ahead and add the spices and let them cook together. The mixture would look a little dry, don't be concerned. We won't let it cook for too long, and make sure that your heat is on medium or low. After cooking your spices and ingredients for about a minute, go ahead and add your shrimp to the mix. After adding the shrimp and making sure that it's fully coated with the spices and the onions, we're going to go ahead and add the lemon zest and about 4 tablespoons of lemon, or half of the quantity we prepared. We'll let everything cook for about 1 to 2 minutes and then remove the shrimp. Like I said, the shrimp can easily overcook and become chewy and tough to eat, and we do not want it to get to that point. If I am sharing the dish with someone who is vegetarian or has shellfish allergies, I do clean the pan before moving on to the next step. Otherwise, I continue cooking without doing so, since I do want to save the flavors left on the pan from cooking the shrimp first. So like before, we start by sauteing the onions until they are translucent, and then we'll add our vegetables one by one, starting with those that will take the longest to cook. The nice thing about this dish is you can actually add almost any type of vegetable you prefer. I've made this dish with veggies, and I've made it with barely any veggies at all. This will all depend on your mood or the supplies you have, and the time and effort you want to put into making the dish. So at this point, we're gonna start adding our ginger, garlic, and I would say if you wanted to add your lemon zest now, you can do that, or you can save it for later like I did. Off camera, I added 3 diced tomatoes and I let them cook with the veggies. This is not a typical ingredient for this dish, but I do like adding it because it adds a lot of flavor and it creates a sauce that the noodles will later soak up. If you didn't want your veggies to overcook, you can add the tomato right after you saute the onions and then add the veggies, and that way the veggies will retain some of the crunch and some of the texture. Otherwise, you could just cook it the way I'm doing it here. So my first choice of noodles for this dish is the Kadija rice sticks, and you can cook them one of 2 ways. One, you can either dunk them in boiled hot water, and you can cook them that way for like 1 to 2 minutes. Or you can lay them flat in a raised edge cake pan and pour the hot water on top, and that's the easier method. And not leave them there, like I said, for more than 2 minutes. 2 minutes is the most I would recommend leaving them in hot water. They cook pretty quick, and then you still want them to be a little al dente, I guess. If you are making this dish with chicken rather than shrimp, I would recommend cooking the noodles in chicken broth. And if you are making it as a vegetarian dish, I would recommend cooking the noodles in vegetable broth. This way you add a lot of flavor to your dish. These are optional steps. You don't have to do it, but if you do, it will add a ton of flavor to the dish. Now that we've added our noodles and any spices that we might have forgotten to add earlier, we can go ahead and add the veggies that we know won't take long to cook. So the bok choy doesn't really take long to cook, and I didn't want it to cook for long. That's why I saved it for the end. I've added the scallions, the cilantro, and the jalapenos that I de-seeded and cut into small pieces at this point. I've also saved some of the scallion and the cilantro to be used for garnish. At this point, you can taste and check for your salt. Check if your noodles need any more liquid, and if it does and you're using broth, do use that. And if you're not using broth and you do need moisture, don't add a lot. Just a little will go a long way. So I wanted to experiment and see if adding a tablespoon of coconut oil at the end will enhance the flavor in any way. And I can tell you that it did a little bit, not by a big margin. So this is optional. If you wish to add a tablespoon of coconut oil at the end of your dish, by all means do it. Otherwise, there's no need for it. At this point, I wanted to go ahead and add the shrimp. Since I don't have anyone who's vegetarian joining us for dinner tonight, I went ahead and added the shrimp. I didn't need to take any of the noodles out before closing the lid and letting the dish rest until serving time. So if you cooked your protein the same way I did it, for example, in this case, shrimp, if you cooked it first and then separated it and then brought it back into the dish at the end, start the plating process by taking it out like I just did. And then plate your noodles and add the protein on top. You will have a much better and cleaner presentation that way. Small touches such as shredding your own turmeric and ginger, zesting those lemons, adding coconut oil instead of regular oil has made a lot of difference in this dish. Adding more spices than just plain curry also have added a lot of dimension to this dish. They smell wonderful, they taste amazing. After you're done plating, and when you have added all your shrimp, garnish with scallion, cilantro, and lemon wedges, and serve with a spicy sauce if you'd like, or without. This still will taste just great. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. When you make the recipe, please leave me a comment below. I would love to hear about your experience with the recipe. Please like, share, and subscribe, and click on the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.